It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report. I'm Mitchell Renz, and the way that we do this show is use hashtag Raiders, or you can super chat to get those questions on the show. All the questions that you're about to hear from our live show on June 18th, and if we hit 1,000 likes today, we're going to do another mailbag next week. The Mount Raider Moore and the Silver and Black Hills said we want more mailbags here on this channel, so you guys got to click that like button for it to happen. Let's go to Justin G. If you could bring back one Raiders player, dead or alive, for a season, who would it be and why? It's a hell of a question. I'll always say it depends on either am I putting a player on this team right now, because if I got to put a player on this team right now, you could make the argument you should always go quarterback, whether you want to go with Rich Gannon, who won MVP in 2002. Maybe you want to go with, I don't know, a LaMonica, a Ken Stabler, or one of those great QBs. Or, could I add a Charles Woodson to put as my cornerback? Could I add Bo Jackson in his prime to put at running back? Do we want to go with, I don't know, one of the late greats, RIP to Jim Otto, put him on the offensive line and let's beat the shit out of some people? You can go a bunch of different ways, but off the top of my head, those are going to be the names that I roll with here. Let's go to Raider Invader. AOC will become the Raiders franchise quarterback this year. Main reason because all you doubt him, mark my words. I hope that you're right. I hope that you're right. I hope DeMokes is right. And I hope that Aiden does turn out to be our franchise quarterback. Because here's the thing. If Aiden does turn out to be like the guy, and the only way I'm going to consider Aiden to be a franchise quarterback is at the end of this season, I go, you know what? That's somebody that can be a legit top 12, top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Because that's all we need. If we can get a top 15 QB with the defense that we have, this is going to be a very hard team to beat. If Aiden literally proves that he can be like this franchise QB top 10 type of guy, then you're looking at a Super Bowl caliber team. With a quarterback like that, franchise QB with a defense like this on a cheap rookie contract, that's how you start building Rome in just a few days. Let's go to my man, Reggie. Have you heard anything about Amari Gainer? I have heard a little bit. I'll admit it's probably about 2 weeks ago at this point. So Gainer was somebody that I liked, UDFA coming out of North Carolina. Linebacker, I think he's more of an edge, going to be more of a special teams guy if he makes this team. And that's going to be his role. I've heard he's fiery. I've heard he's got some good burst. Heard he brings the energy. He was somebody that I talked about, like I said, 2 weeks ago. Got some good notes on some UDFAs that were showing out. Like the 4 UDFA notes that I got that were showing out were Carter Bradley, Amari Gainer, Ron Stone Jr., and then, Jaquan Shepard. Those are the 4 UDFAs that I got notes on about 2 weeks ago. But again, if Gainer makes this team, I don't think he ends up making the 53. He could be a practice squad guy. It's going to be an edge / mainly as a gunner, I think, on special teams. Let's go to Jansen. Aiyuk is complaining the 49ers don't want him again. Can we get out of the Tay contract and sign Aiyuk, or will it cost picks too? I mean, it's going to cost picks. I think if you trade for Brandon Aiyuk at minimum, it's going to cost you at least a second-round pick on top of that. Yes, the Raiders are paying Devontae Adams, and Devontae is going to be on the books for $44.5 million or $44.1 million over the next 2 seasons. I will say this, though. I think that you're going to see the Raiders restructure Devontae's contract at some point next offseason to free up some of that money, give him some void years so it's not as high. When it comes to Aiyuk, though, you're going to have to give up, let's say, a second and a third round pick. You go get Brandon Aiyuk, and then you're going to have to pay him based off of the contracts that we've just seen recently. Originally, I would have said Aiyuk's probably going to get $25 million. I think Aiyuk now is around $30 million per year. So, you're going to pay Brandon Aiyuk $30 million per year, or you can look at Devontae Adams' contract on a yearly basis, 5 years, 140. That's basically right around $30 million. I know Aiyuk is a hell of a receiver, but I'll also say this. Does he fit our offense exactly the way that we want it, where Jacoby's a good wide receiver too, but he's not afraid to block? Aiyuk's a name, and he's got ties to Arizona State. He's got ties to Antonio Pierce, but I really don't think that he's coming to the Las Vegas Raiders. James Dipp. Brandon Aiyuk said the Niners don't want him. Should we trade for him? If no, where will he play this year? I think I already answered this one. To me, there are 2 teams that stand out to me that I really truly believe could end up making the deal for Aiyuk. And the 2 teams are the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have been pretty, interested in him the entire offseason. The other team is got to be the Washington Commanders. Aiyuk literally was FaceTiming Jaden Daniels the other day and said, Bro, they don't want me. I'm telling you, they don't want me. That tells me that Aiyuk's been trying to get out of there for a while. I don't think it's a great situation. So to me, Steelers, or it's going to end up being the Washington Commanders. Let's have this question, though, because I do think because we literally just got 2 Brandon Aiyuk questions, does that mean like you're not confident in our wide receiver room, or you are very confident in our receiver room? I want you to scale it from 1 to 10. 1, it's the worst position group on the Raiders. 10, it's the best wide receiver room in the National Football League. Let me know down below. For me personally, my confidence level in this Raiders wide receiver room is a solid 8. That's a pretty good number. Let's go to Eric M. Any update on Miller's injury? Yeah, Colton, he's still dealing with a shoulder injury. It's from the shoulder surgery that he had last offseason. I will say that the expectation is he's going to be good to go for training camp. The Raiders were taking it just, a little cautiously this offseason, minicamp OTAs. They didn't really want to rush him back for anything. But I will also say this. I've said this before. I have talked to Colton Miller's team, people involved with Miller, for many years now, okay? Recently, I have not gotten any answers when I've asked about the shoulder. Maybe it's because they're not talking to anybody. I actually had a Raider player who I talked to a lot last offseason tell me this year that, they're really trying to do a really good job this season of not talking to anybody outside the team, which, to be frank, I respect, I like. I had a lot of players reach out to me last season because they were dealing with a lot of bullshit around Josh McDaniels and they wanted their voice to be heard. They seem to be overly happy with Antonio Pierce, and I really don't think many players are going to talk to me this season. Real talk. Let's go to Lenny Dorm. How many sacks will Tyree Wilson have this season? My magic number is 7.5. I'm hoping that he gets to 8, and I just have such high expectations for Tyree Wilson, and quite frankly, I think he's going to shock the world. So Lenny and anybody out there watching the show, I made a video around Tyree Wilson and why I really do think that he's going to end up shocking the world. If you want to go check out the video, I'm going to put a link right here after the live show, but it's another reason why you click that subscribe button, why you're always tuning in, and I know people are always busy in the month of June, right? People are busy every month. We make videos every single day, and I'm sure there's going to be times that you don't see the videos that we put out. I promise you this, like you just asked me that question, Tyree Wilson. If anybody wants to know anything about any player, you put Tyree Wilson, Raiders Report in a Google search bar and a YouTube search bar, the Raiders Report, I guarantee, is showing up. Also, who's guaranteed to show up? The Noti Gang. I got Song of C2, Mike, Anthony, Early Riser, and then the king of the Noti Gang, Jaime Alvarado Sr. If you guys want to see your name on a future Raiders Report show, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and take some pride in being one of the very first people to comment. Let's go to my man, Ron Raspberry. Raider Nation, the one and only nation, the biggest family in the world. Not that we're getting closer, who we believe is going to be the starting quarterback and cornerback. Shout out to Ron Raspberry, man. Absolute legend. No, that's how you spell it. Ron Raspberry. Yes. No, it would not. I wouldn't put it by me to misspell anything. And people say that probably after they see all the names in the duck race. I would say getting closer to who we believe is going to be the starting quarterback, I'm just going to give the upper hand here to Aidan O'Connell, and that's just because we haven't heard anything. If anything, we've heard of how bad the both quarterbacks have been. Gardner, Aiden, everybody going up against the defense. And then at corner, if I was a betting man right now, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I think if the season started today, Brandon Faison's going to be walking out there as your starting corner. And it could be more of a 55 to 45 split, him with Ja'Cory and Bennett. The Raiders want to develop DeCamerion Richardson. They want to develop MJ Devonshire. They have plans on using those guys on special teams. But the top 2 corners right now that are working with the ones, obviously, Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs, I didn't put them in there. The corner spot, though, that I think you're talking about is the other corner spot, which right now is between Brandon Faison and Ja'Cory and Bennett. I'm also hoping that this answer is Stephon Gilmore, Xavier Howard, or another corner. Vincenzo, OG, who is the players you should keep an eye on upcoming in training camp? Great question. I actually put out another video of the top 10 storylines that you could check out. I would say Tyree Wilson's got to be on that list, no doubt about it. Colton Miller has to be absolutely on that list, dealing with that shoulder injury that we talked about earlier. Both the quarterbacks, seeing how they play from top to bottom, all that type of good stuff. Then I'll go out on a limb. This is June videos, by the way. I'll also go out on a limb and say, man, I want to see how all the rookies do, right? How all the rookies do, how they look, how they progress, that type of thing. Then maybe some of the second-year guys, maybe some of the players like that could get contract extensions, a Robert Spillane, a Trevon Merrick, a Nate Hobbs, a Malcolm Kuntz, a Marcus Epps would be some other good players to keep in mind. Some of the UDFAs, Ron Stone might turn into my Adam Plant Jr., where I'm like, hey, this is a UDFA that I'm really hoping ends up making this squad. Jaquan Shepard is going to be another name that I'll throw out there. And then Brock Bowers, I know he's one of our rookies. Michael Mayer, I think, is going to get used a lot. I'm excited for this Raiders season, man. I was not excited last season just because I didn't believe in Josh McDaniels and I saw what happened to our team before. But remember the first year that when the Raiders traded for Devontae, how much hype there was going into that season? That's kind of where I am this upcoming season for the Silver and Black. Let's go to maybe the greatest name I've ever seen. Crosbula. I don't get the Dak slander. He was arguably the best quarterback last year, and his defense sold in the playoffs. He's 100 times better than Aidan O'Connell and Minshew. He could take us to the bowl. I think people rip on Dak and the slander around Dak. Number one and the biggest reason, he's the Cowboys quarterback, right? Like, people talk about Dak Prescott probably more than they do Patrick Mahomes. And think about that for a second, right? I do agree that our team would be much better with Dak compared to, Gardner or Aidan O'Connell. And I don't know if Dak could take us to the Super Bowl if I'm being 100%. Like, that's my biggest reason why. I don't know if I want to pay him $60 million per year because at the end of the day, like, the only way I'm paying a QB $60 million a year is if I get to the playoffs, we can win a Super Bowl. I just don't think that Dak's ever going to win a Super Bowl. I really, truly don't. Jeremy's asking this question from this question here, Hasbulla. Pick a quarterback for the next 3 years. Dak Prescott at $60 million or the Raiders' current quarterback. So, Chugs, you're saying for the next 3 years, I get Dak at $60 million. So 3 years, $180 million. Or let's just say Gardner Minshew at $12.5 million per year and Aidan O'Connell on a rookie deal. So I either get those guys at that contract or Dak at $60 million. I'm going to upset some people. I'm going to go with Dak Prescott at $60 million. And I say that because Dak gives you a chance to win. Dak gives you a chance to be a playoff caliber team. I just don't see the upside in Aiden or Gardner over the next 3 years. Like, to me, that means that you are guaranteeing yourself that you are just hoping to get into the playoffs. Like, I'm not just hoping to get into the playoffs. I want to actually chase a Super Bowl ring. And quite frankly, yes, the Raiders have a much better chance to win a Super Bowl with Dak Prescott at quarterback than Aiden or Gardner Minshew. If you don't like that, then I'm sorry, man. That's the truth. What's up, Terrell? Do you think we have a chance to get Arch Manning? I hope not. I think Arch Manning's going to be absolutely terrible in the NFL. I think Arch Manning, and I've thrown this name out there before, I think he's going to be like a Jimmy Clausen, where dude gets hyped up a lot coming out of high school. And I think if Manning's last name wasn't Manning, I don't think that he would get the attention that he gets. Kind of the same thing that we talk about, with like a guy like Shedeur Sanders. Gets a lot of attention, gets a lot of hype. I need to see what he looks like in college football. Players can get better, right? Like the Mannings were never athletic freaks. They just had it up here, and maybe Arch has got it, up here, and he gets better. He grows a little bit more, and he turns into this great quarterback. But based off of what I have seen so far, no. Arch Manning to the Raiders, that's 3-4 years down the line in a video. But you know what, Terrell? I'm absolutely going to remember. I'm going to be like, dude, Terrell, if I ever talk about Arch Manning on a show, I'm going to figure out a way to get this back and be like, Terrell, you were right, my guy. Now, if you enjoyed this show, I want you guys to check out all the videos that we do this month. And June's a tough time of the year, and I get it, right? Like, my dad always tells me, he's like, Mitch, you can't get mad at people for not watching your videos on June. It's not that I get mad at people. It's like I make the video, so when I make it, I hope that people watch it. And I know that people are busy in June, and there's a lot of other stuff going on. So if you want to check out all the videos that we make in June, go to chatsports.com/RaidersJune2024. I'm going to put that link in the very first paragraph of the video that you're watching. So when you click on this video, you can go down in the description in the very first paragraph, that very first link. I want you to click on that, and it's going to be all the videos that I put out in the month of June, because we put out 1, sometimes 2, 3 videos a day. Every single month, I got that commitment to excellence, and I know you don't see all the videos that we do, so if you want to go check them out, chatsports.com/RaidersJune 2024. Also, I'll put something right here. Let's go to Ruthless Raider. Hot take. Zamir will have more total rushing yards than JJ this season. I think what you're trying to go for it, so either rushing yards or total yards. Like, I do think it's a hot take. I do think it's an unpopular opinion. I will say that, like, there's a part of me that wonders if Jacobs has a bad year, because I know when Jacobs got paid, he then got lazy. And it's a fact. Like, Jacobs got paid, and he showed up last season, and he was not in nearly as good a shape as what he should have been early on. And a lot of the things that Jacobs has been saying this offseason, and I feel bad because this is somebody that, man, like, this is a player that we rooted for so long. He's the first Raiders touchdown I ever saw live in person, a player that I've rooted for a lot. But, like, he's been kind of getting on my nerves this offseason, so I hope you're right. I think every Raider fan hopes you're right. Let's go to Brandon Moore. What's up, my man? What percentage of time do you think we have Bowers and Mayer on the field at the same time? Personally, I think it's going to be around 60%. Love y'all, Raider Nation. I think that's a good number. I think it's a really solid number for the 12 personnel, but it's not only just 12 personnel, right? Like, I think there's going to be opportunities where the Raiders can run 12 personnel, and it's going to be Michael Mayer, Harrison Bryant, and it's going to be Brock Bowers split out wide with Devontae Adams. Like, to me, that sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like I don't know what the hell play is going to be coming. I mean, imagine if you had some sort of alignment of, you know, Harrison Bryant, Michael Mayer out there on the field, Bowers is split out, then you got Devontae. I mean, you can run, you can pass, you can do so many different things in that setup, I guess. 60% of the time, though, does feel like a pretty good number to me. What up, CC Looped? Mitch, some questions as the Dak one. Oh, same as the Dak one. Shedeur Sanders for 3 years, or our current quarterbacks for the next 3? Guys, I'm just going to keep giving you the same answer. I'm going to go with Shedeur over the next 3 compared to the current quarterbacks, because Shedeur then would be, what? He would be the same price, essentially, maybe a little bit more expensive than Aiden O'Connell. Yes, I get the fact that you're going to have to take him in the first round. Now, if you're telling me I also have to give up all this draft capital to go up and get him, then my answer might change to that a little bit. But, like, Shedeur Sanders, to me, does have upside. Gardner Minshew has absolutely no upside. Aiden O'Connell has a little bit of upside to him. But, like, yeah, if Shedeur hits that peak, you're like, all right, this is a quarterback that can really help us out. I was like this on Shedeur Sanders when the college football season ended. The more and more I hear, the more and more I watch tape on him, the more and more I study on Shedeur, I'm just starting to fall lower and lower and lower on him, because to me, yes, you need to be a great athlete to get it done in the NFL at the quarterback position, but you got to have it up here. And I'm really, really worried Shedeur, it's going to get so big that he can't even fit in Allegiant Stadium. And if you're building a team like the Raiders where it's team first, Raiders first, you know, I think Jackson Powers Johnson said it best this offseason. He's like, you know, you play for the jersey on the front, so that way it blesses the name on the back. I think Shedeur Sanders already has, he thinks, a blessed name on the back. You don't give an F about the front. You know, like, I don't want that guy to be the leader of my football team. And I think there would be some older Raiders players that would be like, wait a minute, you want to wear an L on your jersey instead of a C? Maybe you should wear it on your forehead. If you want more Raiders news and updates from me, you can always give me a follow on IG at MitchellRentz365 and on Twitter as well. Doing my best to keep you guys up to date 366 days out of the year. If you also want to show some love to our guy Jeremy Chugs behind the scenes, who is a lot more, prevalent? What's prevalent? Is that the right word? Wow, this is not the words report. He's a lot more prevalent on a lot of our live shows, and hey, give him a follow as well. He does a lot of content here. Also does some other stuff around Chat Sports World, does some few Houston Texans videos on top of that. So if you want, give Chugs a follow on Twitter. He does a lot for us here at Chat Sports. It would be greatly appreciated. And if I missed any of your questions, you can also DM me on Instagram. I do my best to try to go through at least a few questions every single night when I'm, doing my business.